Now, much of the media you'll be using to create your projects will come from external sources. Those are camcorders or CDs or other media that's already on your hard drive. But Vegas also includes tools for creating your own media files within the program. This is what you do, for instance, when you create titles or text, or when you create different colors or patterns for your video backgrounds. You're creating the media clips and events right in a tool called the Media Generator. Now, the media generators are located here in this tabbed interface in the upper left of your program. If we just click on this arrow, if you don't see it, and it will move its way down here to the Media Generators tab. Click on that, and you can see that we have a number of media files that can be generated right in the program. Now, several of these are titles, and we'll take a look at some of these title generators in depth a little bit later in our course. So first, let's just take a look at how a basic title works. If I select titles and text, you see that I have a number of presets. There they are. And these presets mostly represent animations for the titles, although they also represent colors and styles of text. And if I hover my mouse over any one of them, you can see what the animation looks like when it comes in. And I can drag one of these down to the timeline. It becomes an event. And at the same time as it becomes an event, the Video Media Generators option panel opens up. I'm going to hold down the Control key because otherwise this window, when I move it around, is going to try to jump inside one of the windows on the interface. So I'm going to hold down the Control key, move it off to the side. You can see that the event is on the timeline here, and that right up here we have the title that we're working on. I just want to move the playhead into the middle of the title, so that way it will show up on our preview monitor. Hold down the Control key again and just slide this panel off to the side. And you can see that we have options at the very top of the screen for presets. This list of presets is exactly the same as those listed under titles and text in the media generators there in that panel that we were looking at. Once I've selected a preset, I can go ahead and modify it just by dragging across it here and call it whatever I want. I can select it and change the font, select whatever font I want. I can select styles and size for the fonts, and I can change the text color. So there are a lot of characteristics that I have control over in the media generators because we're creating the media right in the program. In addition to titles, we also have a number of options or tools here for creating different colored backgrounds. For instance, we can create a solid color, and if I just drag this to the timeline, you can see here that it creates a yellow clip. Hold down the Control key so it doesn't drop into those windows. It creates a yellow clip for my timeline, which I can, by opening this up and using the color picker, I can change it to whatever color I want. We also have test patterns. These come in handy if you're going to be delivering your video to a broadcaster who will need to set up their equipment to match your color space. They can use your color bars here to set up their equipment. There are noise textures, and these noise textures here come in a variety of flavors, and you can customize the colors and shapes of them. There is a checkerboard pattern, and the checkerboard pattern is not just sizes and shapes of checkers, squares there, checkerboards, but also you can create horizontal and vertical blinds. And then the color gradient, which includes not just a basic color gradient, but also a number of patterns here that have transparency in them. Anytime you can see a gray checkerboard behind a pattern or a clip, that means that it's transparent. So these can be used as windows or to mask certain areas of your events on your timeline. And the coolest thing about any event that you create here in our Media Generators panel is that you have the option of customizing it any way you want. And you have the option of creating animation for it. So for instance, if I drag this rectangular transparent to black down to my timeline, and it opens up the Media Generators option panel, you see that I have options of changing the color. If I don't want black around the outside, I can change that to any color I want. I can change how crisp the edge is between the window and the color pattern by bringing these nearer together or farther apart. I can change the shape from square to elliptical. I have a lot of control, and like I say, I can also, with a number of these, I can create animations too. Now, down here at the bottom, there's an animation button that I can click, and that button opens up the keyframe control workspace where we can create our animations. A number of the media generators will have instead a little clock here that you can use to animate. So I can take this colored square, for instance, and I can create animation using keyframes to have it shift from one color to another. And I can do that by clicking on the animation button. This keyframe, this little dot here on the timeline, represents the color of teal that it is right now. If I move the playhead down here and I change that color now to say yellow, I've now created an animation where it's going to shift from that teal to the yellow. And you can see that happening on the timeline if I just go ahead and click play. There it starts out and it shifts over to the yellow. Very, very cool. So although titles are going to be your main use for your generated media, there are a number of media templates and tools available here. The important thing to note is that these are generated media files. You essentially create them from scratch. And because of that, you have a tremendous amount of flexibility when it comes to designing and even animating your titles and other generated media clips in your project.